Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Today we're back here at VC Andrews again. So, surprisingly, it's still July, because he's doing a Christmas episode. It's the 25th anniversary of A Perfect Christmas, Jim. Okay. Doesn't really give much of a hint there, huh? Just saying. Jim is kind of subjective in a way, but might as well see what VC's got for us today. Alright, see what you got, buddy. Be sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you enjoy. Here we go.
Hey guys, Merry Christmas from your pal VC. Now I know what a lot of you are probably thinking. Trip, you're about 6 months early, don't you think? 3 words for ya. Christmas in July. Besides, I wanted to get a jump start on other YouTubers reviewing a very special Christmas-themed work in time for its 25th anniversary. But before we get into that, let me share with you what my thoughts are on the classic series Arthur. They are pretty interesting to say the least. Okay guys, this is going to sound super awkward, so here we go. I think Arthur is the very first transgender children's animated series. Now I know what you're thinking. Arthur was not the first children's cartoon to have a gay wedding on it. And gay and transgender are not the same thing. You're being super offensive. Calm down, people. I meant transgender in the more metaphorical sense, if you get what I mean.
What I mean is, Arthur was very clearly written as a tween slice-of-life cartoon on the levels with Doug, Hey Arnold, or Pepper Ann that actually felt much more like it belonged on Nickelodeon or Disney Channel. You think that's a stretch? Jim Jenkins' Doug was essentially a prototype for Arthur, and it ended up on both of those networks, though more successfully with the Sponge and with the Mouse, but that's irrelevant. How some of the writers for Arthur had originally worked on Doug, and their influence is pretty apparent here. Only problem was, a combination of being based on a series of picture books and airing on the same channel as Dragon Tales, Clifford, Barney, and certain names we don't need to mention right now due to some trauma I'm having. All of this seemed to lead to a very grim misconception.
That's a baby
sorry, I can't even finish that sentence. My point is, despite having grade school level show writing, being born to a preschool network and based on a series of preschool books kept me older kids from being interested in checking the series out. But thankfully, 26 frickin' years of airtime have caused many people to see this masterpiece for what it really was. Probably the best slice-of-life animated series ever made, with great characters, exploration of sensitive topics, witty references specifically for the parents, and again, making bold moves in kids programming. Many people have adored this aardvark for years, even if they have enjoyed his friends much more, and I was no exception. Unfortunately, not quite enough for me to do a top 10 episode video for this show, but my best friend and my supervisor at work, both of whom had fond memories of said aardvark as well, really wanted me to do a review of Arthur, so I decided to do a mini review of my personal favorite episode of the series, and just in time for its 25th anniversary, Arthur's Perfect Christmas. This special is notable for being kind of the end of an era for the show. It was not only the last episode to use the show's darker color palette, but was also the last to have most of the original Arthur crew involved, including Arthur's first voice actor, Michael Yarmush. But was this special a worthy swan song for young Yarmush? Well, in the more holiday sense, of course. You bet seeing a sweet fat ass it was. I had originally planned to release this video on Christmas of 2024, but the plot to overthrow Christmas ended up taking so freaking long to make that despite my best efforts, I wasn't able to finish this in time for the holidays that year. But funny enough, that actually ended up being a perfect example of the message of the special that we'll get into. So for all of you here today, here's my mini review of the classic special, Arthur's Perfect Christmas. So when choosing the plot for what the first ever Arthur Christmas episode would be about, it seemed that this was the showrunner's thought process.
I had so many ingenious ideas, I didn't know which to choose. So I decided to use them all.
And that's the reason this episode's runtime is almost an hour. Yeah, there are actually many subplots in this special, but surprisingly, they're all woven together fairly well thanks to a simple but relatively original and meaningful message that we'll get to. But the main storyline is Arthur wants a perfect Christmas, which he conveys through my personal favorite song in the whole series.
Yes, this Christmas, I suspect, will be perfect in all respects.
Though, Jackal Jackal Hyde is a close
that's a good one.
But he isn't so sure he's gonna get it. For one, his Pomp David, ever the experimental chef, is insistent that for this Christmas dinner, they chuck the traditional turkey and stuffing, or save it for 2 nights before Christmas, and instead cook an authentic Christmas dinner like something actually around the time Jesus was born. Arthur is none too certain. And what's worse, DW's developed an unhealthy obsession with a hot new toy for Christmas called
I'm Tina, the talking tabby. Oh, Tina, tiny
Tina.
the talking tabby.
I'll admit,
Tina
that
the
song is a
Talking
guilty
Tabby.
pleasure of mine. And having waited only 2 frickin' days to do their Christmas shopping, they're naturally all sold out. And worst of all, oh man, this is so bad, this is gonna shock you. Okay, get ready, there's no frickin' snow. Yeah, that's literally what Arthur's biggest concern that'll keep him from having a perfect Christmas is. No snow. Yeah, Arthur, we love ya, but...
Calm down.
the hell up!
But nonetheless, Arthur...
Yeah, even I would have been like, dude, it's just snow. Calm down, man. There's no such thing as a perfect Christmas. Just be with the family. Ay. Even I would have been like, calm down, bro. I'm just saying, like, for anyone, though I think I would agree with him, like, experimenting with Christmas dinner, like, no, bad idea. Like, I'm pretty sure my dad does that, and he doesn't experiment with food. I'm just saying. I just saw a Reddit story where someone actually did it with Thanksgiving with like a turkey gelatin mold. I don't remember exactly the username. I'll have to see if I can find that video again, but still, like I said, holiday foods is just something you don't experiment with until you get it right, okay? Not on the main day. Anyway.
does have a trick up his sleeve to ensure this is the perfect Christmas, namely by his mother a replacement glass bird for the one he wrecked last summer while terrorizing DW. We'll come back to Arthur's plots. The second biggest plot involves Francine and Muffy. You may remember how in my Top 10 Teacher's Pet episode video, how I had mentioned how I didn't think that there was any other holiday special of a cartoon that emphasized the importance of not completely burying every other religious winter holiday that isn't Christmas.
True.
Well, I feel like such an amnesiac idiot for forgetting that this special that I had seen since I was 5 had done it just as effectively.
Yeah,
Namely,
Kwanzaa and
Muffy is
Hanukkah.
throwing a big, expensive Christmas party, but her bestie Francine won't be able to make it since her family is celebrating Hanukkah. Even when she literally tells her right to her face over 27 times, it falls on totally deaf ears.
No.
So naturally, Muffy is livid that Francine stood her up, and the two have a falling
How'd you
out.
know?
The third subplot is Buster also wanting a perfect Christmas, but his mom going overboard and stressing herself out to make one for him always ends up making it anything but perfect. Especially since she thinks that Christmas is always a day earlier, 3 frickin' times in a row.
3?
So Arthur and Brain suggest he think of a more simplistic holiday for he and his mom. I mean, Kwanzaa was just randomly invented by a guy to celebrate African American heritage, so why can't he do the same for his family? Though Buster's ideas for Baxter Day aren't exactly simplistic either.
Stop by the moon just to make sure it's really made of cheese.
Again,
Hey,
kids,
Walton
do you
Graham
expect
already
anything
proved that
less?
years ago. Oh yeah, and there's also a small subplot where Binky tries to invent the perfect Christmas dessert to less than
results.
successful results. So yeah, there seems like quite a few plots to follow in the story, don't they?
And
But they actually flow
they
together
weave.
nicely and are all executed just perfectly. Not just in the heartfelt sense, which we'll come to, but also in the comedic sense.
Oh, no.
Like when Arthur's buying his mom the glass bird, he pays for it in coins. Another one of my favorite scenes in the episode is the many ways he shimmies through the mall to ensure he meets his mom in time for their curfew, all while listening to... Speaking of such,
Even I would've been
I
annoyed.
also love his fantasy where he imagines his family's greatly exaggerated reactions to him redeeming himself by getting Jane the replacement bird.
A special prize only given to perfect children.
Aren't I?
Ouch.
perfect,
You're almost perfect, honey.
Yes, it is. It's the Arthur Reed balloon.
Yeah, again,
Not as creepy as the Macy's Day Parade float. Buster's subplot is also pretty funny too. Bitsy's comedically failed attempts at a perfect Christmas are sweet, but still a comedic joy to watch.
burnt.
Though Buster himself proves that he's not the best at meshing with traditional Christmas customs either. The subplot with Muffy and Francine doesn't have quite as many laughs, but I think that was because it was meant to be a bit more dramatic and serious than the other stories.
Yeah.
Since Muffy has to learn that her indifference and insensitivity to Francine's own holiday customs and religions in favor of the Yuletide have ended up costing her her bestie. That said, though, the scene where the Crosswires try to share rather than force their Christian customs on the Jewish Frinsky family, and Muffy and Francine patch things up, learning the significance of each other's holidays, is a pretty awesome moment. And speaking of other holidays, When Christmas this year goes so disastrously bad for the Baxters, Lester drops the hint that, you know, Jesus was an awesome guy and all, but maybe we could celebrate honor his birth in other ways and have today be kind of our own thing. Like, for instance, Baxter Day? And his mom is open to it. Okay, so I know what you may be thinking if you're a newcomer. These stories are sweet and all, but you said that they were all interconnected. How are they aside from being Christmas themed? Or rather, primarily Christmas themed. Well, I think that Arthur's story is the one that makes it most clear what the message is. So even though Arthur's clumsy maternal Uncle Fred wasn't going to be seeing them this Christmas since he was planning to spend it in the Sunshine State this year, his car conveniently happens to break down right in front of the Reed's house while on his way to Florida, so he's seeing them after all. Hey. So Christmas comes and does not get off to a great start for the Reeds. Like, even though they got DW a really awesome alternative for Tina the Talking Tabby, namely a toy duck named Quackers that can say over 5,000 frickin' different things, is DW appreciative?
No.
Hell no.
I wanted Tina the Talking Tabby! I wanted Tina the Talking Tabby!
Yeesh.
I wanted Tina for Christmas!
Wow, what a selfish punk!
Okay, so I am aware of the heat that Arthur's parents get for always seeming to side with DW over Arthur and never punishing her even when she does act up, this being a very prominent example of such. But I seem to have noticed that in the first few seasons, they actually were a lot more firm with her, and she actually would get punished if she stepped out of line. But around the time her first voice actor, Michael Callows, left, oh, did I mention DW is always voiced by a boy on the show? Shakespearean casting directors, I guess. David and Jane went through kind of a reversal of what Leanne Cartman went through. And even worse, Arthur's present for Jane ends up breaking, not by some external incident like the episode teased at several times, but once again, by his own clumsiness. Ooh. And this actually leads to him breaking down crying, feeling he let his own mom down on Christmas of all days. And given what he imagines her reaction will be like, I can kind of see why.
Twice? I can understand breaking my bird once, but twice?
Dear, I hate to tell you this, but he's inherited the clumsy gene.
Doofus.
Oof.
Binky, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be in this fantasy. Oh, sorry.
But thankfully, and probably my favorite scene in the whole series,
that would have been a fantasy.
Tiny Uncle Fred, who had bought his sister a super expensive replacement tea set for the one he broke last Christmas, signs Arthur's name to it and lets him take the credit for his gift, while he passes the broken bird gift off as his own that he just wrecked. That was just... that was awesome. And what's more, DW realizes that maybe a toy that can say over 5,000 frickin' different things is not such a bad toy after all. And sure enough, the authentic Christmas dinner his dad prepares for them ends up being a feast fit for a king. Or should I say, three kings.
Yeah, we have to do.
But okay, so what's the moral? I mean, since it is a PBS kids show, by rule it has to have a message. Well, I think Fred himself delivers it best, and it's honestly one of the most powerful works in a Christmas work I've ever seen, on par with lines like,
maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more.
And God blesses
every one of us.
Yes, before Fred is about to leave for Florida, since his truck was able to be fixed on Christmas after all, Arthur thanks him for what he did, and Fred says that he was glad to have done it, since the tea set meant so much more coming to Jane from her 8-year-old son than her full-grown adult brother, even if his intent was to make amends for wrecking the tea set last Christmas. And as he pulls out, he gives his nephew one of the strongest Christmas quotes ever.
Shut that door!
Really?
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Really?
But here's the real quote.
Go ahead.
Remember, Arthur, you don't always get what you want in life. Sometimes you get something better.
True.
That is just...
Get something better.
That's so simple, but also powerful and resonant. Again, being a PBS Kids series, you totally expect some cliched stock message
you can't
like
always
holidays
get what you
family,
want.
not presents, or giving as much
you'll get what you need. You know?
Stuff we've seen endlessly in Christmas episodes of works. But no, this special gives a piece of advice that so many people fail to realize in life. We so often are too busy pouting when we don't get what we had our hearts set on or hoped for.
Like that.
Well, not too many of us at that level, hopefully. But my point is, we're often too busy sulking over what we didn't get to realize that sometimes what we get instead is a million times better. Yeah, that sounds like a glass half full cliche, but it's not usually explored from this particular angle, namely, don't cry over spilled milk because you may not realize you have ice cream instead. And yes, I just invented that quote myself. And that message is
This is
brilliantly
one way to put
conveyed
it.
in the special. Like, much as I'm sure Jane would have loved the glass bird that Arthur wanted to get her, I think we can all agree that the replacement tea set was a million times better gift. Especially given that Jane probably thought that Arthur had spent a year's worth of his 8-year-old allowance on it, and Fred may not have gotten the credit for making amends for his mistakes last year, but he did succeed in making his sister even happier than he had planned. And I've already explained how Quackers was better than Tina and the authentic Christmas dinner was better than the turkey and stuffing, but there was also a subplot I hadn't mentioned yet where Arthur also wanted to get his pop this really awesome cooking tool given he's a chef and all, but since they're all sold out, he instead got him a simple olive depitter. And given literally everyone else in the family got him that veginator thing,
Oh yeah,
olive
good
depitter
call.
ends up standing out a lot more to him. But Arthur's story isn't the only one that excels
save.
at delivering this message. Like, Buster and his mom may not have been able to find a way to have a sane, peaceful Christmas, but they were able to find a smooth and non-hectic holiday for them through Baxter Day, and Muffy may not have gone to have Francine come to her Christmas party, but the girls find that just because you have different religions doesn't mean that you can't enjoy some of the customs of the other's holidays, and both girls find a lot of fun in Christmas and Hanukkah. Oh yeah, that's of course the secondary message of the special, namely about respecting and appreciating other religions and holidays instead of bad-mouthing them just because they're not your own. As great as the episode A Dog for All Seasons had executed this message that same year of 2000, having almost an hour runtime definitely gave Perfect Christmas a huge advantage, namely that it actually got to go into much more detail about the holidays like Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, etc., where Teacher's Pet only had enough time to scratch the surface of these holidays. Oh yeah, and even Binky himself experiences the episode's overall message, where he isn't able to find the perfect Christmas dessert recipe, but he finds that the people at the homeless shelter are pretty happy with the store-bought cookies that he passes
Off as his own. Wow.
own. Man, that's Binky for you. And
Expect
again,
anything
I
less from the bully?
happened to experience the message of the special itself when I was making this video. Yeah, I overworked myself trying to get this video done from the dates of December 21st to 24th of last year, you know, before Christmas and all. But again, I was not successful and fairly disappointed. So when I returned to my office job after the holidays, lamenting about how I had failed to get the video out for Christmas last year and didn't think I could do it for at least a whole nother year, my boss had a brilliant idea: make it a Christmas in July review instead. And that ultimately ended up working so much better than my original plan, because not only would I now be reviewing the special in time for its 25th anniversary, when it would likely get more recognition and views from Arthur fans given such, but by doing the review in July, I was also able to get a jump on other YouTube reviewers who would probably want to take a similar approach, but were planning to wait until the holidays. Thus, I'll be able to milk the algorithm long before they all can. And of course, if I'd released this video in December,
first here.
I would not have had time to do the awesome jazz version of the opening song of the special that I put in the background. I think the only part about this message that I'm not sure was executed that great was Arthur does end up getting what he wanted with a white, snowy Christmas after all. I mean, I think there was just a perfect opportunity there for,
you know what, never mind.
Rain or hail, meteor shower. Okay, so maybe that's why they subverted the message.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to find something that can top a white Christmas. So to wrap up, Arthur's Perfect Christmas is not only my favorite episode of the entire Arthur series, but I actually consider it on par with more iconic Christmas classics like A Charlie Brown Christmas or A Christmas Carol. Again, I think that part of why the special isn't as recognized as it should be is because of the whole misconception of Arthur with
That's a baby
sheer Christmas classics.
Yeah.
Great humor, legit emotion, a progressive secondary message, and an overall message that's not just applicable to Christmas, but to life in general. Even if you're not an Arthur fan, I still highly recommend
still get the
you check
message,
this
you know?
special out. Even after 25 years, it still never fails to bring us sufficient holiday entertainment and remind us all that.
I wanted Tina the Talking Tabby!
Well, yes, that too, DW.
Thanks, DW.
But more importantly, remind us that
Sometimes the thing you hope for isn't the thing you get.
Thanks, Arthur.
After today, I just have to say this was the best Christmas yet.
I just wouldn't say yet.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Quick, quack, quaddy, quack.
W, turn that thing off.
Well, that's all I got for Arthur, guys. So join me next time when I rank the works of Britain's 2 most iconic cartoon characters.
Oh, Wallace and Gromit.
Huh, it's a text from Marie Reactions. Haven't gotten one of those in a while.
Yeah, well, you know.
Wanted to get into the 4th of July Christmas spirit and send you this early Christmas present. It's a lovely and beautiful Christmas song.
Before you asked, didn't find a Santa hat. You'll see.
Aw, what a sweet guy. Ordinarily, I would think it's another one of his tricks, but given I didn't get to finish the whole flyaway thing in the Amphibia video, you know, how it was canceled because I used Rachel Zegler and all.
Fair.
But anyway, since I didn't get to finish the song, there's no way he could possibly hold a grudge, right? So let's see what that song is.
Honestly, I wouldn't.
Crazy bus, riding on a crazy bus, riding up, riding down, it's driven by a funny clown, acty goony, booby spoony, high as a plane or ball.
Okay.
Crazy bus.
Oh god, I remember this.
She just won our club last weekend. Have you heard?
Okay. Sometimes I feel like he does it himself. I don't know. Like, I would have been honest. I think I would have just let him go, but, you know. Considering it was Rachel, why not? Okay. Yeesh. Also, the fact that DW joined up. Okay. Ouch. Well, anyway, till next time. See ya.